ehia na se ne fata ene de bra mu adesua nkwa ne wa no se ene yesua nti saa brain mesra sefro onua na onya so frɛ ne nua na saa onua no so emfrɛ na damfo no na dɔfo nyina na mo nyina mbɔ chemku na afede be hia wa no se ne bɔdɔm pem kɛse pa na afede ye ndi dwumede na enkoso enye kama bosomfa meti eguam ye frɛ me PK for asenso ana be producer director na Lord eso so ejina afede n'echi ana omiemi afede ne fruma kama ase Kana kra ye midfielder ye hwan. Blaster say dinku guama still me ya. But all the same no. You be fan this But na me can say producers at large so hold you producers at large kese pa Derek no so Eddie Jumede kama and yes so A class and the almighty Danny Boy almost so enyina e wo hono ma omude dwumedie sabre mefa kwanya isu na mama munyina akwaba kese e ba dwumedie ne so mfa ncheme bebi bia wo bia ho nchia kese pa e na bede ma wo sabre mesra wo se kosoa na nya botre na efa waso efen na fo ni so e kire dwumedie so na bibia be kama sabre afi na wadwane ya mesra wo se fra wonya na wonya so emfre ni bia na yema dwumede nkoso kama na anse ne yebekọ na afedi ahye dwumede na ase na yebekọ akoda abo afọm aso yasene ayedi dwumede ebra wo ase teacher ne dikan eye feel good services o se so pa adwuma pomodem anase adwuma nimdia anase bia adwuma yare ehu nimdia bia pomechira kwan e feel good services@gmail.com no me no bedi nkita ho kama ebiom so se pe bebi ada a ho beto ho besepel na afedi ho abaw na afedi we jeja ho no feel gbenza eno an feel good homes or sebra neba pe o Airbnb short stay anase bia o pese bia o customize o building bi ma o crampo anase second apartment crampo an apartment in apartment and as a condo in apartment from 513 372 5758 na video munyo ending kitan betima sa contact you so feelgoodservices@gmail.com. Happy Glow GH eso ewa Ghana ewa Ashomane State right opposite Veggies and Grill or say bra na fede be your cosmetics beto cosmetics beauty supplies nya say person ye manicure and a pedicure and I say be any nail design type be a person ye be a Mr. Bra e mema na mo na hwan ye de say some people no we be kwakoda nya na fede moja na epra mo mpaso no we be just so close you and I say be tonton bi na aba mpaso na ye wa wo na ho de kutwi wa wo na ho enti Mr. Konne kope anwedro ewo Happy Glow GH or say beauty pronounced. Oswald Wellness Clinic and also Oswald Wellness LLC, SA Bra, Nebepe with family nurse practitioner, IV hydration, primary care, and weight management. Almost say omo nkrabata no ebio ewo Maryland, Anna Cincinnati no come say Etwefi Nellis Road no Aba Beckett Westchester. Into no panwo echira kwan ewo 513-268-2740 na fedie bibia enkoso 101 kama. Tatap send ye nyema kese pa dane abre nyina no rate ne kosro no saa so na ye de nyema foforo so ebrabo Tatap send se ka ma introduce wallet system na wallet system is say UK in the war eni di akotene pa na enche bia no ye be dane eno so aba USA abrochimem and Canada into no wallet system no is going to be very easier for you to send money to each other whereby any chaotic issue bia. But answer you do wallet system in the US in the so I can say call App Store and also Play Store. Download the Tatap Send for promo code no PK HM and I say HRE for shame. Then you have $15 on your first transaction. If you yaka Tatap Send asem no me so I can say a fast, a secured, as also reliable. And I will send you no issues, no wahala bia Tatap Send. So them run the no papa no. But me so I can will be say every Saturday, Sunday. Ya started promotion kese pa e was Cincinnati. It is was Cincinnati nkwa na say ope free meal when it comes to say bia meto aduane amawa. All I need ni say uyo bia what uni Tatap Send ne be new users o download the app no. First of all, you be my promo code no. Ubenya $15, okay? Ubenya $15 on your first transaction. So the promo code PK, P-KAY Shema. Obenya $15 on your first transaction. Uya, besa so etua o mail out. So obeto aduane besa 4 and I say 5 emu ba ko metua ka se ba ko personal ba beto so metua ba ko ne pe kama na fe dia o dia akofie. Ya starting wa Adepa restaurant ewo Dixie Highway so this weekend ebe ye besa so akọ Divine akọ ye Divine so dia so aka ho enti no Saturday ye be share with Divine, Sunday ye be share with Trinity. It's a misraw say uhia anyone any questions be our me number in frame me 513-487-8663. Na fe the ending kita ona bibia enye kam. Say bia wo kra wontimi mba restaurant no kra me je dwane no krampa. Wo frame ya me ankasa me ye maje order no matu adwane no ka na me ansam de adwane no abrew ewo fie. Me da say ana bibia be share me bia me de adwane na abrew. Sabre ye be kọ na fe de Yako my director David amaye any update bia ewo amaye so far as startup center is concerned na fe dey ye de dwumede no ahye so director I'm bomb to say
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for making the time. We shall further my supply and for Fugusuba.
Uguzo shatare we.
Yeah, so quick update for TapTap as PK kind for Wallet's a big thing up. Because big issue and say, boy, time episode send it corner. The rate might not be exactly where it needs to be, but wallets will help you lock in the set rate at that particular time. I mean, something that we're really excited about. We haven't launched in the US yet. It's mostly in the UK. So we'll roll out in Europe. The NTI in America and the Fed and say regulations now, and we have to go state by state, and it's a bit more tedious compared to Europe. So once it's tested, and we work out the bugs about America, it will be easy for us to adapt. That's one update. Another update is say going into February. We're excited about that. We're waiting for our team to put together. Easter and Ghana, Easter or Ghana, until you hear from us soon. We have a few things pending from you guys. Outside and lastly, I think the one thing that we continue to talk about is the rate, which is very critical to every person who sends money back home. To say rates not quite sure. And when they have been. We're doing as much. We are trying to be as competitive as possible. In your space, right now, what we have, we're very confident that through your usage, we've been receptive to what we have. And first of all, again, thank you so much. PK, I think that's all I have. But more importantly, today I'm very excited to hear from Chase to tell us more about pathways to get into cybersecurity. Into PK, right back at you, and keen to hear today's guest.
Thank you. But before I proceed, I just want to understand. What's Temeka, director? Director Temeka. Director Temeka.
Yes, I can hear you. Fine. Yes.
Just say, yeah, band is a mention Ghana JCB. I will go to promote blasters.
Oh no. It's yeah, Chase, welcome.
What do you shake? You are cracker be the coolest why because to be a shop.
I didn't go. That's the Francophone team that called. We didn't go. The Ghana team didn't go. The Francophone team went. We had nothing to do with us,
So it actually makes sense. One more representative. You Ghana for that makes sense. All right. Chase putting the projector together to Chase. So you're ready. I'm heads up. Not for there. Me and Fro and until now, me director Ekle time. Until you're ready.
We can. Chase, please get yourself sorted whenever you're ready.
Yeah. No.
I may use my normal screen. I'm the projection. We are ready. On the young queen in me.
All right. Hey, Chase. First of all, man, I know you're a very busy man, and it's very, very an honor for us to have you over here tonight. Thanks for making time out of your busy schedule. In the topic, Nebusha, for all you need to know about cybersecurity and data. To say Chase, then the professional me who how I mean fancy make us basically know your IT all rounder because or no why scrum master or no why project manager or no why just all he does is just backs the certificates and the qualifications, but in there you be focusing on cybersecurity and a data analyst, right? And basically he was school us on what we need to do, what we need to know, why we need to know what we need to know, and also all the myth surrounding the fact of cybersecurity, because we'll be cybersecurity, we say, honest about the point is what kind of cybersecurity are you doing? And also see another factor people need to understand. It is I feel that we remember that the angle ourselves ultimate effort. after the we also saw now wama yehu kwa yebe fa so timenye adwuma because a lot of people need jobs into no Chase, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Maybe share my screen kakra. Yeah, who screen and now I'm a swat to say a who be kama.
And Chase, if you want to feel comfortable, you can probably do it all English, and I say the episode makes sure. Right now, no, this is what I'll say. Whatever you feel comfortable. But if we get any message from our audience to say they want the English parts now, they will just make it strictly your friend is English. Why?
Of course,
yeah.
That definitely helps because but all the same, thanks so much for this opportunity. So today, it's basically talking about the world of cybersecurity and data. But overall, I'd like to prefer to call it the world of tech in the diaspora. Normally, no name among for Casa, what is it? But we tech move, but Matisse. And as a nimpa way, and I say, I don't know who are tech me, a man. But we still don't know shame when I said I'm man. So what can we do to really ensure that we can really get the best out of the opportunities out here, especially in America and Canada, in the UK and whatnot. So basically, the focus here is not going to be about me come to tell you the actual subject headings, the actual domains, the actual courses that you need to specialize on. Basically, I'm going to highlight on the actual real world problems in and the actual pathway for you to ensure that you see success in this specific endeavor, which is the tech world in its entirety. One thing I'd like to highlight here as well is you'd realize a lot of people go into either cybersecurity or data, and people think they're too far apart. Other people think they're sort of related. I'm going to answer all those specific questions. Now that we've started, let's just keep that in our heads. And once we get to the questions or the Q&A part, we can basically bring all these sort of things to the table, and I can basically help answer individual questions. This is a very short slide because I'd rather answer questions than to really talk based on what I've got in my head. I'm just going to go through this quick. If you have a question, basically just hold on to that question, write it down. We can talk about it right when I'm done with this specific presentation, and we can probably ensure that this entire 1 hour is quite beneficial to all of us. So I'm going to swing away from here on. Now, the first part of this slide is really a question to the audience. And what I'd rather have people in the audience do is you can just type your answer as a comment in this in the comment section. The moment we're done through this, we're going to go through all of that, and you will realize that every single response that I'm going to give is going to basically touch on every single response that you gave based on these specific questions. And the question number one say, why get into tech? What's your reason for getting into tech, and why should you get into tech? I know there's several different reasons why people get into tech. Like they really want to be part of the moving train. We've got a train out there that's really relevant to a lot of people. Then why not jump on there and also call yourself a tech professional? There could be multiple reasons to that, but ultimately, these are the main two that you hear. Now, question number two here is, how prepared are you? People think when you ask how prepared are you, they're thinking about the money or the mental stress you go through to get into tech and other things like that. But overall, it could be anything at all. If you can sit with yourself, look in the mirror and tell yourself that, listen, man, I'm ready to go down this road and I'm ready to do whatever it takes, regardless of whichever doubts that I have and what I've had, I think you're pretty much prepared enough for you to get into this specific field. Into how prepared are you? You can write it down, write in the chat section, and we can talk about that. Now, the third question to the audience here is, how difficult is it to get into tech? I've heard plenty of stories. I've had people who apparently have been on the road to get into tech for 5, 6, 7 years and never happened. And I've heard people get into tech in a few months. I am a living testimony of that. And there's people in this call who are actually seeing the story from the beginning. So it's we can address all those questions when we get there. Hopefully I can give some insightful answers which will benefit all of us on the specific call. All right, so let's go to the first topic one, which is the biggest one. PK come from the beginning, the myth. So the myth and the reality. What's true, what's not true, what's somewhere in the middle. Let's just talk through them and see what happens. Number one is you need a computer science degree to work in tech. I'm not going to read the reality component of it. I'm just going to talk freestyle it, but then you can probably eyeball the reading component in here. But really, Obi Obekasa said, maybe I just think about it, I'm like, that's not true. You don't need a computer science degree to work in tech. It's not true in the West, it's not true in Africa, it's not true in Asia, it's not true anywhere. As a matter of fact, having a computer science degree or a technical degree, because there's multiple degrees that are not computer science, but relevant to tech, is actually good. It helps you really understand the overall picture. It helps psyche your brain to really think from a technical viewpoint. Because if you've worked in carpentry for a very long time and you're probably adjusting to working in a domain that's not has got nothing to do with construction, you'd have to basically tune your mind to start thinking as such. Same with tech. If you've worked in something outside of tech, of course, having a computer science degree would help you start thinking the tech thinking, start having you speaking the tech lingo and stuff like that. And I think that's quite beneficial overall. But then really, you don't really need that to get into tech. You don't even need that to land a tech role, let alone do you need that to really start studying tech. That's a massive, what do you call it, myth. And I think people should just get it out of your head. I got into tech with an accounting degree for starters. So that's the truth. It's not true. And the other part here is tech is only for young people. I've heard that plenty of times. Because we probably see our parents, especially people from Africa and the diaspora, we see our parents struggle with simple mobile phones. They go like, well, this is for young people. And for some way, somehow, we program our minds to think that technology is for younger people, but that's not true. I've seen people moved from not having anything to really having a technical acumen to really call themselves technical professionals. It's not just specifically with tech. I've seen people's real life stories. There's this man in Ghana, he's called Mr. Tetenete. He started Meridian Pre-University and also started a couple of universities after that. At age 30, this man was basically working as a security guard, what we call watchman. He ended up turning his life around, having a doctorate degree, starting universities in Ghana. He's really one of the reputable persons in Ghana. And he could have sat there and go like, listen, this is for younger people. So if you want to read that book, his book is called You Failed, So What? When you read that book, you can apply that to whatever we're going to go through here. But really, tech is for young people, accounting for young people, success for young people. But I've not heard anybody say that money is for young people or financial freedom is for young people. So really, I think it's for everybody. You just got to tune your mind to start thinking as such. And I think you're basically going to be able to see the light in this world that we call technology. And then we have the third myth, which is you must be a genius or a geek to succeed. It's quite interesting because I have worked with a lot of students, I've worked with a lot of people, and I've seen people who basically they just listen and just sit in like that. And that's great. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. And there's some people, it doesn't really come as easy to them, but I think it still doesn't make no difference because I once worked with somebody who I walk into the library every single time, and this girl is studying 8, 9, 10 hours, like nonstop. She sleeps, she studies, she sleeps, she studies. She never topped the class, but she studied more than every single person. And I remember one time I asked her, I'm like, okay, so why do you study like that? And her response was, she's not as smart as the rest of the people. Something that takes somebody, 2 minutes to really ingest, she's got to repeat it 10 times for it to stick. So you've got to really understand yourself, see how things works for you, pace yourself, and then just put in the work. It really boils down to putting in the work, not really comparing yourself to how soon or how quick somebody got into tech and how long somebody's probably studying and they never got in. It doesn't really matter. Understand yourself, play the game, dance to the song, and it's definitely going to work for you. So that's not true. And yeah, that's not true. And the next one also goes to tech is only for men. In this world of inclusivity and all of that, I mean, I don't need to even emphasize on this, that there's nothing that's exclusive for men. I mean, obviously there's things that women would have an advantage, things that kids will have an advantage, things that men will have an advantage. Even studying, the younger you are, the easier it is for you to really ingest things compared to older people. But overall, it's for everybody. And you've got to really tune your mind right to really delve into it and really tap into this milk that we are all drinking from called technology. The next one says you've got to be a programmer to work in tech. That is not true. Project management, Scrum masters, QA people, even people that works in risk documentation, they're all technical roles. They work with technical people. They're not really technical. Now, one key thing that I like to highlight here is it's really got to do with being smart about this. I remember at the beginning, PK was like, Chase has been everywhere. You've worked in Scrum, you've worked in project management, and then you're here. But the truth really is, it's really about being smart. Because if you can't be a tech person, if you don't have the technical understanding, what stops you from working with the tech people? Business analysts, they aren't really the most technical. So guess what? They build their career really aligning themselves with technical people. So if tech goes up, you go up. It's just like investing in somebody that you know is going to win in some sort of boxing bout or whatever. If the person wins, your money goes up. That's how it works. So basically, if you understand that, listen, being a project manager, you don't have to be the one coding, but then you really help the one coding succeed. And when they look good, you look good, then there's nothing such as you've got to code for you to work in tech. So again, there's some truth to it for some specific roles, but overall, anybody are talking to get into technology. You don't have to be the one building it. And one, let me go up real quick. One says tech jobs are only in Silicon Valley. I mean, obviously we all know that's not true, so I'm not even going to emphasize on this. And then some says tech jobs are not creative. One thing that I like everybody on this call to note down is you don't succeed based on which technology you can use. You succeed based on the brain that you build working with technology. You can have 10 people use the same technology. You realize that based on their thought process, they tend to have different approaches to solving the same problem. So it's not really about creativity as in a sense of what we call creativity in the world of today. There's a space for creativity in tech, and that's something that we all should tap in there. The moment you build that creative mindset of thinking or approach to solving technical problems, you realize that it's actually broader than people make it seem. And then we have, you need to know everything about technology. This one is a big one. You don't have to know everything. In fact, you knowing everything is the reason why you might fail in technology. Nobody knows everything, and it's like super evolving. There's always something new everywhere. And when I talk further down the actual technical roles, you're going to understand that a lot of people take different approaches with certifications, thinking that would help them land a job, or that would help them understand the field that they want to get into. But certifications are guilty of the same problem, knowing everything. Knowing everything is, I call it a necessary evil. It will come with time, but you're never going to know everything. But then certainly that will be the reason why it's going to take you a very long time to land a job. So I would say just cancel that from your head. Don't know everything, but the key word here is specialization. That's the key to getting into technology. Specialization, not trying to be like a Swiss Army knife of technology. So that's one thing I like to highlight on. The next one here is tech is a solo career. That's never true. It's so broad you can't even begin to imagine. So really, I am going to pause here before I move to the next slides. But overall, these are the myths that people have heard in here. I'm going to take a moment to see what's in the chart to see if I've got something I can highlight if I move on to the further conversations. All right, so yes, I just saw it. I'm sorry, I'm actually much more comfortable in English anyway. My tree is terrible, so thank you for highlighting on that. So one thing here is in 2024, these are the highly in demand positions in technology. You realize that they've got to do with two main components. It's got creativity, and I should say three main components. There's creativity in there, coming up with something, innovation. Two, it's all technology, I should say. So for that matter, in the realm of technology, there's data specific roles in here, and there's security specific roles in here. But one thing I'd like to mention here is they all intertwine. Like you can't have data without technology, data without security, and you can't have security because what are you going to secure? Data, right? And then you being a professional, all of it, and facing the complexities of day-to-day problems in technology, that's where you become creative in solving problems. That's how you can measure somebody's competency versus the other person, but then they're using the same technologies. So the world is really, I mean, the new oil is now data, and anything that has got to do with data, anything that data touches really is something that we shouldn't take lightly, especially if we want to get into tech. That's it on this specific slide. I'm going to go through the second slide quickly just so we can have plenty of time for Q&A. Now, the slide 2 base highlights on cybersecurity. Why cybersecurity? I can tell you why cybersecurity, because I've spoken to a lot of our people, and then a lot of questions that you ask is, why do you get into cybersecurity? And people go like, well, I heard it's data, that's data analytics and cybersecurity. But I chose cybersecurity because I don't want to code. I heard it's easier and the money is good. And most of the time I wouldn't be doing anything. So I might as well just stick to cybersecurity. That's the number one reason I don't want to code. It's not as technical as data-driven professions. And the interesting part of it is when you really check the working scenario, right? Right now in the market, the most in demand cybersecurity roles are the roles that requires technical proficiency, some coding, some problem solving. And then the ones that's a bit concentrated is the fact that places that's got to do with maybe documentation, following standards and procedures, and adhering to what's in the security playbook or the security manual. That's what a lot of people get into. So it tells you why there's this sort of shift between cyber professionals and data professional. So you can ask yourself right now, you're thinking about cybersecurity, well, why cybersecurity? What's your reason for trying to get into this specific field? Just get that in mind, and we can probably, address this once we get to the question and answers section. Well, I can tell you why you should get into cybersecurity, not why you think you should get into cybersecurity. One is there's a growing demand for security professionals. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard that if there's going to be a third world war, it's not going to be nuclear weapons, it's going to be cyber attacks. And we've seen hints of that over the last couple of years till today. That tells you there's definitely going to be like an increasing need for security professionals. If currency is now going digital, education is going remote, examination, people barely go to test centers to take certifications no more. Healthcare is basically going to a different realm. Everything is being driven by technology. Technology means gathering people's data. It means coding systems to do something that people should be doing. That tells you that you've got to secure it, you've got to test it, you've got to basically ensure that the risk involved is very minimal, and then the benefits actually maximized. And you can't do all of that if you're going to rely on a cloud system, a system somewhere in the cloud to hold sensitive information that could literally make or break people, nations, and governments. Then security is something that you shouldn't play with. Hence, cybersecurity is always going to be on the rise. That's one thing that we should always keep in mind. The second part here is job security and career opportunities. Again, if the demand is always going to be there, then your job is secure, one. If the demand is only going to expand, then there's more opportunities to grow if you're already in the field. Or once you get in there, you realize that if 10 years ago, you can probably have 20 professions in cybersecurity. Maybe today we have 50, maybe tomorrow it's going to be 100. So it tells you that there's so much room for growth in those specific terrain. Now, diversity in career paths, yes. Cybersecurity overall has 8 main domains, 8 main areas of specialty. Now, remember earlier on, I did talk about try not to know everything in technology. Cybersecurity is no exception. You shouldn't try to know everything because there's 8 broad domains. Every domain, you can have about 8 to 15 career paths in there. So imagine if you know every single thing, which is impossible, you're never going to be a master of something. So the diversity gives room for people to capitalize on their strengths. If you're technical, you may have something technical to do. If you're somebody who can basically, conform to standards and adhere to documentation and really keep the house in order, well, there's a place for you too. So it's very diverse, but the key component here is try to specialize rather than try to know everything, because then you're not going to succeed that way. That's one thing that we should always keep in mind. And then competitive salaries, yes, cybersecurity professionals are the one of the most or the highest paid people in technology today. So I'm sure you've seen the numbers. Once you go online and you check, you've got all the numbers staring at you in the face. So yeah, it's always going to be competitive. So this is the time to capitalize on that and basically try to benefit from, again, this milk that we are sipping from. Global relevance, yes. I mean, everything is going technology. So even if our car is even going technology, then it tells you how relevant tech is. And if tech is relevant and we've got to secure our systems, our data, our assets, then security is also important. Hence why we should get into that field if we feel that we need a career change. So that's one thing that I like to highlight as well. One thing here is constant learning. This is not specific to cybersecurity, it's everything in technology. It's rapidly growing, it's rapidly evolving. So then for you to stay competitive, for you to really stay important and relevant, for you to really, really be good at what you do, you've got to constantly learn and improve. And it's going to make you much more innovative and creative. And that's how you really cement your place in this world of cybersecurity. Now, contribution to social impact. Yes, I spoke about individuals, I spoke about businesses, I spoke about government. Even from a humanitarian viewpoint, there's so much that technology is doing to ensure that the world's a better place. From an activist viewpoint, for climate change viewpoint, and everything you can think about is making a change. So socially, economically, politically, it's making a change some way, somehow. And you jumping on this train makes you a part of this force for change, which is security and technology. The next thing here is ethical hacking opportunities. Yes. It's very important for you to let me just basically summarize what ethical hacking is all about. It's about you turning back to look at your home, which is your systems, to basically test it by posing as somebody who's about to hurt it, to see if there's any vulnerabilities in here. If you can break something in there, if you can basically break through your security protocols or break through your security systems, then somebody else could. And that's a perfect opportunity for you guys to clean your house before an unwanted person or a threat actor basically tries to penetrate your systems. And that's an opportunity for you to wear the white cloak and hack the right way to help implement this force for change, which is cybersecurity. The last one is flexibility and remote work opportunities. Yes, cybersecurity and anything data related is one of the leading professions where you can work flexibly from home or on vacation somewhere from your hotel, because really you don't have to be in the office for you to really be much more effective and also be productive. Hence why it's a perfect opportunity for people who are tired of commuting, spending 2 hours of a day in traffic every single day. Well, you can just work remotely from home, spend time with family, and also make some good money while at it. So that's one benefit that comes with working in this specific domain. And then prestige and recognition. I mean, when you call yourself a cybersecurity professional, when you call yourself a data scientist, when you call yourself an AI engineer, all those professions that is listed in technology, it comes with some sort of recognition, it comes with some sort of prestige. And I think it's a great feeling to be called as such, especially we, the people who are actually trying to pull more people into this specific field. When we see people go from point A to point Z, eventually we realize that, well, we've definitely helped enforce a change in people's lives, people's families, and ultimately make the world a better place. So yeah, it's quite a great feeling in that regard. This is the last part, which is very simple, which is what do you need to go from zero to hero? And it's a lot of misinformation and miscommunication that's really out there for this, but it's really, really quite straightforward. And for me, I put it down here. It's really having a can-do mindset. I've worked with people who they would go through training. They're like, I just want to practice well enough, just so I'm comfortable enough for me to be comfortable enough to really interview. And then 5 months down the lane, they're still practicing. 6 months down the lane, they're still practicing. And then they just lose their zeal and it doesn't happen. If you believe you can do it, really, it gives you the strength to listen to instructions. It gives you the strength to take risks, and it gives you the drive for you to keep pushing. Even when it feels like it's tough, you still pull through because you've really psyched yourself to really make this thing work. So that's the one thing that you need. That's the primary thing that you need. The second part here, we've heard about having degrees, we've heard about certifications, but none of it is more important than hands-on. Hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. I can't stress on this enough. That's the key component here to succeeding. Hands-on is everything. Hands-on, you don't have to know everything, but even if you know a grain in this ocean of technology and you really practice and get so good at it, you've got a 4 times chance of landing a job than somebody who's done a certification that really highlights on everything about a specific subject matter. So hands-on is key. There's no way around that. And if you're going to succeed, just put that in your mind. Now, the third part is you've got to really practice job application and resume skills. People overall think a resume is like a static document that you just dish around and you're eventually going to land a job. But the truth is, it's actually a flexible document. It actually is very fluid. It actually changes based on the job description that you're looking at. The more you learn to understand how the systems that really shortlist applicants works, the more you understand what you've got to do to really ensure that you get picked for you to have an opportunity to sit in front of a panel and have a discussion. So resume in itself, the building of resume, the evolution of your actual document is an actual skill set that you've got to hone and understand. There's plenty of people that really don't have that. There's plenty of people that don't think it's important, but trust me, it makes all the difference. So let's keep that in mind. Also, how to apply for the jobs, not the where, how to apply for the jobs is also very important. I understand that it's very stressful, but if you've got like a specific game plan, and I have like a well put together game plan that I share with my students, but then overall, having that specific game plan and having the resume development skill infused together is really what you need to really succeed in really landing that dream job. Now, there's a typo here, please forgive me, but interviewing is a skill on its own. I've seen people who are really smart. They're probably one of the smartest people or some of the smartest people that I've met, but then when they sit in front of a panel, they can't succeed because they fail to realize or recognize that knowing it is one thing, understanding it is another thing, and being able to sell it is an entirely different skill set altogether. And when you realize that interviewing in itself is a skill, and when you hone that specific skill, when you put in the time to really understand and learn that specific skill, it's almost impossible for you not to land that job. I learned how to actually build my interviewing skill even before I became really good at anything technology related. And that's what helped me really, really build what I know. It started with that opportunity simply because I could sell myself. And then eventually the skills just seeped in eventually by doing the actual work on the actual field. So interviewing shouldn't be underrated. There's a reason why it's that important. There's a reason why they like to talk to you and not just look at your resume and go like, listen, you're the person for the job. So let's keep that in mind. Now, this one, people don't talk about it, but we should just learn to embrace the power of experience. Certification is important, hands-on is important, crash courses is important. I mean, there's no other way to get in there, right? Degrees are important, but experience should be embraced. And I'm not saying we should just go like, well, I don't have the experience, I'm not going to apply for that job. Nope. What I'm trying to say here is you should be okay to embrace the fact that some things you're just not going to get. You can sit in the class for 10 years. You can take 1,000 crash courses. There's some things that comes with doing, comes with facing real life problems, real work scenario issues. When you embrace those things, understand and listen. Let me give you a typical example. You can practice coding in SQL or Python for as long as you want. It could take you 10 years to know as much as you would know coding for 1 year in the actual work field. So these are the kind of things that you need to embrace and understand that you can't know it all. Some things come, there's a place for experience. There's a reason why experience matters when they put out that job advertisement. So just keep that in mind and then embrace it. Do what you can do. Jump into the ocean head first and then build that experience. Sometimes you might probably lose a job just for you to have enough to show that you've got that experience in the next job, but that's okay. It happens to the best of us. But always keep in mind, experience matters, and don't undermine it. When you undermine it, you're going to give up, and you're not going to respect the things that you've got to respect. So that's it. And the last point here is practice, practice, practice. Practice in some sense, is basically building some sort of experience, building that muscle memory that really, really triggers you to know what to do without having to reference some documentation that I've got written there. And it comes to practicing. That's when it becomes like a reflex thing for you. And that's how you're sharp on the field. And that's how you're able to really recollect things when you're asked questions in interviews. And that's even how you're able to put the bits and pieces together when you're practicing for those job interviews. Those are the key things that you need. I don't think anything, there's nice to have, which is degrees and certifications, but they don't make or break you. These are the things that make or break you in this world of technology. So I am going to basically end on this note saying that it's a pleasure talking to every single one of you, and thank you for having me. A quick one about my company, Data Solutions Network. We basically take on consulting deals with people in technological space, that's companies, and deliver solutions for them, and also train students who want to get into technology, guide and hold their hands to ensure that you have the right skill set, you have the right guidance, you have the right expertise for you to succeed in whichever field that you've chosen. The specialty is heavily in cybersecurity, data science, data analytics, and business intelligence. So, I mean, I'm not going to emphasize too much on this because right now it's really about you guys. It's really about the questions and answers. And on that note, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chase, for making this happen. First of all, I must say you just broke it down like, to the lowest level, at least to my level, and I must say it is very, very imperative to also, talk about your business. So even though it's about us, we also want to know about the business, because I know most of the people watching right now would love to contact you off air to see how best they can also get more one-on-one consultations, and if possible get with your program as well. So please, as we pile up the questions, and for you, can you please go ahead and put the name of the business, your telephone number as well in the Zoom chat, so that I can transmit it over to Facebook and YouTube as well, so that everybody can get.
Definitely. I'm going to basically share the flyer in the chat right now, just so everybody can have a visual copy of it for the next class. So you have everything in there. The business's number is going to be there. You can always call for, you can just call and even ask general questions
Okay.
that you ask on this course. I'm going to put in the chat right now.
Okay. So, and if you don't mind, stop sharing for me, please.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'm very excited to, hear this. But let me start off with the first question. And as soon as I see the information, I'll pick it up and just send it to Facebook. Let me start off with the first question. This is a very personal question for somebody, so I hope there is an answer to it. Do you help people get jobs?
Well, in some way, somehow, I do help people get jobs, yes, because the training in itself is just the easy part. Really learning how to understand the system, learning how to study, learning the important things to really prioritize is the key component. And you need somebody to guide you, somebody to support you, somebody to serve as a mentor for you to land that dream job. And it doesn't even end there. Once you're on the job, remember I did say that the importance of experience. There's some things that you're going to need somebody to hold your hand. And we have a community that would basically support you while you're on the job. We basically share our ideas, we put our questions in there. We've got professionals who are happy to hop on a call with you to help you while you build that expertise, even when you've landed that specific job, till you're very confident. I wish I could tell you that you're never going to need anybody's help, but that's not true. I still need help from time to time. And that community is going to be an everlasting community that's going to be there, where we do support each other on our day-to-day activities. So yes.
Right. And also, do your company have actually components whereby you guys hire people to do the job?
Yes, based on some contracts that we have, yes, we hire people to basically do the job, because of course, if you're taking client, there's some expertise that sometimes you don't have in-house, you'd have to outsource. And if the people have got the right skill set, of course, we definitely like to outsource. Some of our tutors for our trainings, actually, they outsource, they are logged in and they teach from India directly. We go on person teaching from Pakistan. That's just for the teaching part. Same way with the actual consultant part, that's the same thing that we do.
Actually, I was talking about the fact that like Data Solutions have an IT firm whereby, okay, we have the education part and also the practicing part. Do you guys have that kind of component whereby you actually can hire somebody to be a business intelligence or business analyst?
Yes, of course, definitely. It's normally a three-tier. We call it like a three-tier contract. And so, if I have a contract and there's a specific skill set, I don't have the skill set in house, I don't have the manpower. Definitely, we pick people from outside to really come on board, work with us, and basically deliver solutions to make the world a better place.
All right, cool. Thanks. So now let's go to the questions on Zoom. Then after that, we're going to transit to YouTube and Facebook as well. So I think Esther's suggestion has already been addressed. So we're going to go to Esimasi. If I butchered your name, please forgive me. Please forgive me. The question, I don't know if it's a he or her. So I was like, the question was, why do female candidates get away with easy interviews than men?
I don't think that's true. I've interviewed people, and I think it's got to do with being male or female. I think it's got to do with. I understand there's sometimes biases. Sometimes, I mean, human beings, we all have our brains wired towards one side and the other. But I think overall, it's really got to do with what you're selling and who's buying. And I don't think it's really female or male thing. Somebody might say, well, there's a lot of guys who work in tech, so does that mean tech is more biased to male than female? I think genuinely it's got to do with what you're selling. And sometimes you're fortunate enough to talk to somebody who just happens to ask the right question based on what you've got upstairs. And sometimes you can talk to somebody who might probably have an ocean of knowledge, but then they ask that specific question and they're looking for that specific answer per what they know. And anything outside of that's not welcomed. So sometimes you're just unlucky, but I don't think it's really got to do with male or female.
Okay. All right, then the next question is from Sweetie. Sweetie says, oh, very educative. Thanks, Startup Center, for bringing on James from Data Solution. Then, this name, Sika Inti Adwaneme Ayeka says, what is the journey like? Actually, that is the name of the person on Zoom. Sika Inti Adwaneme Ayeka. Well, Sika Inti Adwaneme Ayeka, and I said, we'll start to say, we'll get it deep into the IT and you make money. Adwaneme will be boom. Why? Goes like, what is the journey like for someone who has zero knowledge of IT? If the person's final goal is cybersecurity, where should the person start? Are there any entry-level courses for cybersecurity? Are there courses you would say is a prerequisite for cybersecurity? I think it's a multiple facet question. So
yes, I think there's lots of entry-level positions. I mean, when you go with the basically the Google certification, for example, is very entry level. When you go with the Blue Team 1 certification, they're very entry level. When you even go with the most popular certifications in technology, CISSP and the rest, they have their basic level certifications. Now, those certifications, they're very highly unlikely to land you a job because they touch on surfaces of every single thing, and that's not key for you to land that job. Specialization is key, hence why you need a well-curated hands-on tutorial for you to get in. However, they're very important for you to understand because you've got to speak the language. You've got to really understand when you're a communicator too. And that's where they become relevant. In landing a job, however, you need a class. You need somebody to really guide you in. Because when you go deep into it, you realize that it's really the same thing being done over and over again with different tools. For example, if you want to handle incidents with a tool, there's a tool called Splunk, right? When you know Splunk, there's 7 other tools that is the exact same thing. So when you specialize in basically a specific SIEM tool, automatically you know the rest. You just got to understand how they work. And then all these specific certifications give you an overall overview of what the cybersecurity or technology is. And one thing I like to highlight here is there's a lot of people who are nurses, pharmacists in my class, people who've even not coded before in my class, people who drive taxis for a living in my class. And the question is, well, how is it going to work? The truth is every single field is relevant. People underestimate the importance of domain expertise. If you're a nurse, some way, somehow, what you know in nurse is relevant to cybersecurity, is relevant to data. If I'm talking to you and I start talking about HIPAA, you know HIPAA, right? That's a good place to start. You know PHI, that's a good place to start. So even for you to be picked for a specific job role, sometimes your domain understanding, even if you work as a physician assistant, doesn't really matter. It may be relevant to why you're going to land that job. No knowledge is ever wasted, and that's something that we should always keep at the back of our minds.
All right. Very good response. Asimesi comes again and says, do cybersecurity only consider online activities on the computer?
Not really. I mean, some people do on-premise work as well, but the truth is, a lot of the work that can be done on-premise is really infrastructural. Back in the day, a lot of the systems are actual physical systems in the facility, which requires physical presence. Today, there's cloud technology. Everything's going to the cloud, which means technically there's servers sitting somewhere on the actual cloud company's facility where they're managing it for you for a fee. So really, you don't need people to be physically present. So now that AI is happening, now that cloud technology is happening, there's going to be lesser and lesser opportunities for people to actually be in the office to really be security professionals.
Okay. So before we proceed with the comments, I will say at this point, I am actually going to open the Zoom call for people to call. Actually, those of you who are driving and cannot type your questions for that purpose, to actually put up your hand so that I can call you for you to ask all your questions. Especially goes like God bless you, sir, for taking your time to educate us. And the technical terms, what's on-prem? Permanent
It's basically
FTE.
On premise. So if something is literally, if you have a computer sitting in your office, that's on premise. However, you could also set up a computer without having a physical computer, which is on the cloud. So that's what I mean. One requires physical presence and attentiveness. The other, you just sit from home with any computer at all and you can access it. That's the difference. And I'm going to try to limit the technical terms here. So thank you.
Okay. And this message came to my direct inbox. It says, are there entry level courses? Please, I didn't get the answer for that question.
So there are entry level courses. Somebody also highlighted about Udemy. Most of the courses, like 99% of the courses, gives you an overview, but they're not what really you need to really land that job. And even if you're lucky enough to basically pass that interview and get another job, you're going to struggle a lot because you lack the hands-on, like a specific, well-curated, step-by-step guide on how your day-to-day would look like on the field. That's what's most important. They're also important. It helps you understand the overall ecosystem, but then most importantly, the hands-on is what you need. And you need a class or you need at least a mentor to help you with that.
Okay. Please, those of you on Zoom, in case you want to talk, go ahead and just, give me a heads up, or mute yourself, give me a heads up, or put a thumbs up, like the reaction bottom up so that I can call you. But once I get somebody, I'll pause on the chat questions, then we can have people actually call and ask questions. Danny goes like, I'm trying to get into cybersecurity. Someone is suggesting that I should buy a course on Udemy, etc., and study. Where is it? I lost it. There you go. Here you go. And study. Instead of getting into an institution, you think it is advisable for me to start that way? I mean, do you think it's unadvisable for him to start?
It's not going to land you the job, or at best, it could land you a job, but really on the actual job, you're going to struggle really getting work done. But then it's actually important for you to usher yourself into it, to understand some key terminologies, how it really works. You're going to have a high level understanding. And when you walk into a class such as mine, you're going to have like an advantage over the rest of the students who didn't go through stuff like that. But overall, that's not really what's going to land you that job. And you might even ask the same question for degrees. If you have a degree in any domain, great. If you don't have a degree, that's not that shouldn't deter you, because technically in today's America or Canada or wherever, they don't even look at a degree, to be honest. It's really, they might look at the certifications, but then it's really you demonstrating that you can really do the job. That's what really lands you the job.
Okay. And Asimesi comes back again and say, how long is the training?
So my training is basically 8 weeks long. And someone might say it's quite short. The reason why it's quite short is there's so much noise and by noise, I don't mean literal noise, but there's so much noise around a lot of certifications, dancing around things that, first of all, wouldn't help you in interviews, wouldn't really help you land that job, wouldn't help you get the job done, but then it's more informational. So what I do is when my students basically sign up, I have a well-curated documentation that breaks down all those things that would serve as a hindrance in our 8-week period, provide it to you, give you access to you, guide you to what to read, to give you that preliminary understanding. And then when the class starts, we only take 1 week to go through it. We give you assessment in that specific regard. And then the rest of the 7 weeks is really teaching you your day-to-day, the hands-on, what you really need. And also devoting time to really teach you the resume building skills. We build it for you, but also teach you how you could do it by yourself, how you can maintain your resume, and most importantly, the goal, which is how to really build on your interviewing skills. That's where we focus much of the energy on.
All right. Any questions? Anybody who has any question, please unmute yourself and go ahead, so that we can proceed with it. Whilst we're waiting for somebody to come up with a question, I just want to say a quick notice for next week's show. That next week's show is going to be about the history of Valentine's Day. So we're going to be talking about the history of Valentine's Day. And the week after that, we're going to be talking about relationship and marriages, like long distance relationship and marriages. But again, let's not forget that we're going to be having Chase with us very often whenever he's available to give us different aspects and different topics and also different components in terms of technology and also other topics. So please bear in mind with that. Another question is in. So this is from Nicholas. Nicholas says, is the training open to people in Ghana? If yes, what is the registration process?
So yes, the class is fully online. All you've got to do is just show up with your laptop, and every license that you're going to need, every infrastructure you're going to need is already built for you. Just show up, you take the class. The most important thing is there's a way to sign up, and which you can always contact us via WhatsApp or even iMessage or direct text message. We have quite responsive to give all those answers, but ultimately, the class is online. Every class is recorded. You have lifetime access to the recording. You can always go back to it and catch up on things that you forgot. And then you can take it from wherever in the world. And yes, it is not limited to America alone.
Okay. Then the next question is, how much is the fees? And also, is there any discount for HRTV, viewers or family? Like, in case somebody contacts me like, hey, I just watch you on, Time with Tatap Sen with PK, and I want to make sure if I could get a discount, please. We want to know about the discount today, not tomorrow.
I'm definitely going to curate right after this. I'm going to have a specific discount for referrals from this specific session, and if you go through PK, definitely you have a guaranteed discount. The pricing is really tiered based on what we're teaching you, so it will be easier for me to break it down via direct communication. But then, of course, there's going to be a discount if you're joining the class through PK's medium.
All right, thank you very much. You did okay. That's from you saying that the class is fully remote, so that's great. This is from Solomon. So Solomon goes, PK, please, how much is the cost of the basic course? Solomon, he just answered. So he said, just contact him directly, and based on what kind of class you want to do, he'll be able to go over there with you and give you that discount. Just make sure you tell him that, hey, I watch you on, Time with Tatap Sen with PK, and I just want to make sure that I get my discount, because the discount is very important to me, please. And he will also let me know that, hey, a couple guys from your platform came to, seek some help. All we are doing, Tatap Sen is trying to make sure that everybody is well equipped and also well educated and well informed. We are here to highlight, report, and educate. So that is what this is for. Please test on WhatsApp for further details. So basically, he said WhatsApp only. Test on WhatsApp. I think that is also better for those outside, USA as well. That way, there will be no charges with your text with your messages. Any more questions? Any more questions, please? Again, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. If you don't want to ask directly, you can send me a direct message and I'll read the question without your name. I've already read a couple questions without putting the names out there. But if you want to talk, go ahead and unmute yourself and talk. Then Nicholas goes back again and say, please share the WhatsApp number with us. It's already here, but I'm gonna copy and put it again. And I've already put it up on Facebook and YouTube as well, in the chat on Facebook and YouTube. So those watching can also have access to it as well. Oh snap, I just sent a direct message to somebody. Hold on, let me go ahead and make that message to all.
Hey PK, this is Asimasi.
Asimasi, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a new question for you.
You mean for Chase, right?
Yeah, for Chase.
I don't have any answer for you. Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sir. So, do I need to be a citizen of maybe US to get to land my first job, or is there a possibility for someone like me who is, a student here? How do I
So,
learn myself something like that?
That's a good
so
question.
well, I'm no immigration lawyer, so I'm no expert in this department. But then, one thing I know for sure is there's people who aren't American citizens, and so long as your employer can sponsor you to land a job over here, of course, yeah. I mean, the knowledge is still the same knowledge, so yes, it's really got to do with whichever path that you'd like to take. But all I know is, so long as you have the skill sets, your skill sets ever needed inside America and even the West as a whole. So immigration wise, whichever path you choose to take, it will determine how complex it will be for you to land that job or not.
Oh, okay. So, do I need to be a citizen to land my job, or a green card should be fine?
No, you don't have to be a citizen to land a job. You don't even have to be a permanent resident to land a job. I've seen people with work permits land a job. I landed my first job as a work permits person. So yeah.
So like
Oh, okay.
that's like the C2C, right?
Yeah, you C2C is like, see, that's corp to corp. That's an entirely different thing. But then the H-1B people are the employer-sponsored people who aren't really Americans, but they work here. And then there's people who are probably on the path to be green card holders, but they've just got a work permit. They also do land
The
jobs with that.
EADs.
So yeah, the EADs as well. So there's GCs, there's EADs, there's the H-1B ones. It doesn't really matter. So long as you've gone through the right channel, I think you should be fine.
And even I think in some cases, companies do take OPDs too.
Yeah.
Those that are about to graduate, and they're still students and stuff like that. So, hey, take advantage of it if you could. Thanks, Asimasi, for the question. Anybody else can unmute themselves or still type your questions and we'll ask them for you. We have about 5 minutes to wrap it up because I know he has to get back to business. But again, like I said, next week, please be mindful. We're going to be talking about the history of Valentine's Day. The week after that, we're going to be looking into marriages and long distance relationship. And right after that, we might be having some immigration, stuff going on. And Chase might be coming after that. So just be mindful. Oh, also, there's another topic in line for you guys. Those of you who want to look into going to medical school, the path to medical school, that's another good one that is on the way too. So please be mindful. John Alason says, can somebody who has zero knowledge in IT join your class and become successful if this person's interested in cybersecurity?
Yes, I had zero knowledge in IT. I had an accounting bachelor's degree. So I'm a living testament of that. I have a lot of students, a lot of people that I've worked, a lot of colleagues that had no idea, hadn't even written a line of code in their lives before. And so that's very possible, 100% possible. And I've worked with people like that. So yes, definitely reach out on WhatsApp or even direct phone call, the number that you have, and we can talk through whatever can actually help you succeed in this specific endeavor.
Speaking of that, let me ask you this question, right? How difficult it is to break people into learning configuration and building these codes, especially those with zero knowledge. How difficult is that?
So
and stressful.
I think it's got two components to it. One's got to do with the actual person's capabilities, because remember, we all know the same, right? Some people absorb things faster, some people really don't. You've got to understand your audience, who the student is, and most important, they've got to embrace who they are as people. That helps you guys, align in that specific regard. And once that happens, you create something that really helps them. But coding in itself or anything technical, just think of it as learning a new language, right? I can't speak Chinese, but I know what I want to say in Chinese, right? So knowing what you want to say is much more important than saying what you want to say. So once you build the analytical brain on what to do, the language comes naturally. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, more of a reflex and a muscle memory thing. So that's the key. Teaching them the basic of knowing what to do, and then the how to do is very easy. And then with experience and doing it every single day, it just flows like that.
All right. And what is the minimum educational background you need to start this program?
As I said, there's no minimum. Bachelor's degree is not really a requirement. But
so high school at least?
I'm sorry?
So high school at least?
High school at least, yes. As long as you're very, very capable of reading and writing. An associate degree, great. I have people who really don't have, they only had high school. With the right certifications, with the right demonstration of experience and learning the hands-on properly, you can land a job. Yes, of course, it's probably going to take you probably 1 or 2 extra steps for you to land that job, as opposed to somebody who has a master's degree. But then again, there's always an opportunity somewhere for everybody.
I have a question, Chase. Again, so also thanks so much for making the time. But quick question. I'm sure you heard the current climate. Well, I think it started from Q4 of last year as far as layoffs in tech space, right? What's
Yes.
the climate been for cybersecurity for those who haven't been paying attention to that vertical?
Cybersecurity is the least affected domain. I mean, I have a very strong expertise in data analytics, data science, and business intelligence. And in that field is dim significantly, to be honest. But then security is not affected because it doesn't matter. Even if you lay off 1,000 people, you still need security professionals to ensure that things are secure. So it's ever growing. Now everybody's moving to cloud, which means it's even growing even more broader and wider. And as well as cloud, now security threat is becoming on the rise today, like US and China, companies stealing data from other people. I had a company that basically got hacked recently, had to shut the entire system down. So there's always going to be a need for security professionals. And as AI is coming in, there's higher vulnerabilities for systems because everything's really being handled by systems and not human beings. So it's always going to be on the rise and it's not really been affected at all.
Interesting. Thanks so much.
That's a very good question. All right, so guys, we're about to wrap it up. If we have, okay, there's another question popping up because if the questions are not coming, we have to let the man go. But Asimesi, Asimesi, I don't know. I think it's Asimesi. Asimesi or Bente. I like that name very much. Asimesi, and I said in the beginning I was like Asimasi. Wow, my David Krabbe sharing. So Asimesi goes with emerging of AI. What does the future? Oh, I think you just answered that question in lieu with David's question. So
Exactly.
Asimesi, your question was is it foreseen or foresaw by David and Chase, and they already tackled that for you. All right, Ebushafo, if we do not have any more questions, I would love for Director David to sign out with him. Then after that, we'll proceed with a Q&A session with Tapsen. But then, Chase, I want to say thank you very much for coming, and also God bless you for making time. I know how difficult it was for me to get hold of you. Hey, with the whole Ghana, I don't number one best hide and seek. But Director David, it's over to you.
No, Chase. Again, I think that PK has made it very clear. I mean, consistently. Again, thanks so much for making the time. I think there's a stream of topics that we look at. Or you look at the evolution of people in the diaspora. You start with immigration, and after you get immigration, you have kids, and the kids have to go into the American environment. Like, what jobs out there for them, right? Gone are the days where you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, and we forget the North Star was the currency or the salary, right? So I think having people discuss other quote unquote unconventional pathways given the diaspora, I think is incredible. So thanks so much for making the time for us. We hope to have you back soon whenever you're free.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I can't wait to actually jump back on this session so we can talk more about other subject areas I just highlighted on. So thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Again,
Chase, I'm gonna catch up with you after the show.
Of course, man. Bye-bye.
All right. So at this point, I want to say big thanks to everyone for coming and also for making the time to make this show a successful one. We are gonna jump into the Q&A session with Tapsen. This is where all your questions, your concerns, your contributions, and also solutions are being created and also delve into. So please, we're gonna end our our Facebook and our YouTube session at this point, and I urge each and everyone to just join us at the Zoom chat room. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and also I'm gonna hand over to Director David for the Q&A session with Tapsen.
Thank you so much, PK.